Hey, what is up YouTube? This is Platinum Point and I'm here to bring you guys another video. Today we're going to be doing one on One Piece TCG. We're going to be exploring one of my personal favorite archetypes in One Piece, and that is the Whitebeard Pirates. We're going to be exploring it with one of their best leaders, Marco. And this deck has been out since OP10, this variant that is. So I'm going to be going over my deck list, the card choices that I go into, and kind of my rationale and why I prefer this over, especially over Shanks. So I hope you guys stay tuned and let's get on with the video. So before we get on with this deck profile, I just want to remind you guys to rate, comment, and subscribe. Balls, crack that like button if you want to see more trading card game content. And please check out my previous videos where I talked about my competitive rotation in context with white, in the context of Vice Schwartz. I will be doing one for Pokemon. I will be doing one for probably One Piece, but since I only have 4 decks, I'm just going to be talking about those 4 decks and why I am playing them in kind of a brief summary as to why I'm playing them. But I wanted to showcase, before I did that video for One Piece, the first deck that I have on rotation, which is actually Marco. Shanks is also on there technically because I can pivot into Shanks, but right now Marco is like the top choice for me because I really like this leader. And with the recent updates to the metagame via the ban list, as well as how it's shifting, I feel like this deck is also pretty well positioned to do well. So I really like this deck. It's especially since the recent Whitebeard trial deck, I think it was a ST19 or ST20, I forget the specific number, but I really just enjoy playing Whitebeard. It was my first, like the Whitebeard archetype was the first archetype I actually built like semi-competitively in One Piece. I'm not really competitive in the game at all, but when it comes to actually playing in tournaments, this is probably one of the decks that I really enjoy playing. So we're gonna go over the list. So we're gonna start off with the leader effect. So for those who don't know what Marco does, his ability is on Dawn Attachment, and it's an activate main, and you can only do it once per turn. You draw a card, choose one card from your hand. You can either put it back on top or in the bottom of your deck. So, and then you get to minus 2k from your opponent. So this is essentially, if you guys remember Sakazuki, where it was, I think, discard, draw, and then minus, I think, 1 or 2 costs from an opponent's character. This is essentially the same thing, except you get to like shove it to the bottom of your deck instead, or put it at the top, depending on your game plan, because you're going to be taking advantage of card, like your end game takes advantage of the ability to play from, reveal the top card of deck and then play that character for free if it's a low, if it's a cost 9 or less. So it is a valuable, like having that knowledge is pretty valuable, but it's also really good at hand filtering. That's the main reason why I like Marco, is it's good at hand filtering and power manipulation, which is key with this deck since you're running so many bricks for days. So he's really good at fixing your hand as well. So now that we kind of finished discussing the leaders and the benefits, we're going to go on to the main deck. So I run 4 copies of the Ezo. So this is the main searcher of the deck. So you just check the top 5 of your deck, choose a character with the Whitebeard trait, Whitebeard Pirates trait, and add it to your hand. And you cannot add Ezo, which is fine. And then you send the rest to the bottom of your deck. About, I think, about 60% of the deck, I think 50 to 60% of the deck is Whitebeard. So you're gonna always most likely hit this. There are gonna be very few instances where you're gonna whiff the effect. So this just helps you dig through your deck very quickly, and you need deck speed. That's one of the things that Red and Blue kind of really like like lack is consistent deck speed. So like this is one of the main forms, and Marco is kind of a pseudo deck speed, but I mainly see it as a hand filtering. Continuing on with that narrative of deck speed / hand filtering, I play 4 copies of the 1-drop Kaya. So what she does is when she comes into play, I get to draw 2, ditch 2. So this allows me to clean my hand of bricks that I probably may not play during that turn, or that might conflict with my current game plan. So it allows me to kind of clean the hand. And we do run, and it's a 2k counter, but we do run the 6-drop Jozu. So if I do have to play this, because I'm mainly going to primarily use her as the 2k counter, but if I have to play her to dig deeper into my deck, I do have the option of playing Jozu to just return her back to my hand, so that way I can reuse her as a counter. So we play 4 of that just for deck filtering, deck speed and hand filtering. And then now moving on, this deck doesn't run any cost 2s, so we actually skip to cost 3, which is going to be our 3-drop Marco. So this Marco is a blocker. It's very similar. Like I know we have a 4-cost Marco blocker, but I feel like this is the superior one moving forward, especially since there's a lot of KO effects still around. And what Marco does is basically it's a 5k blocker, and on KO you get to choose one of your opponent's characters that's cost 4 or lower and just bounce it. So this helps you like take away your opponent's blockers, as well as any kind of early game beat sticks that could be very tricky for you to that you just want to get off the board, so that they have to waste more resources to play it, and it just denies them attackers. It either denies them attackers or blockers in the early game. So that's why I play 4 of it. Next, we play 3 copies of the Sanji from OP10. This card is actually really strong. So during your turn, or during my turn, it becomes a 6k beat stick, and then it's an on KO draw card. So this is a free beat stick that I can play to set up for the following turn, and it's a free 6k swing. So after I swing it, it basically becomes a threat, because if my opponent answers it, it replaces itself. So it discourages them, it forces them to make a tough choice to whether you let me keep using this as a beat stick, or if you're going to answer it and give me another card to potentially block or play next turn. So it's a free beat stick that replaces itself. It's a floater essentially. So that's why I play it as a 3 of. I would play it as a 4 of, but I'm really tight on space with this deck. And then next we play the 4 costs. So we play 4 costs, the 4-cost Jozu. It's just here for the 2k shield. I may sometimes play it for rush in some niche situations, but this is just your 2k counter. And then another 2k counter that we play is this Chopper blocker. So what he does is during my opponent's turn, he gains plus 2k, so he's a 6k blocker. So he can effectively block your opponent's swing for 5 by just blocking, and it will stay there. So it's just there for just a beefy blocker as a 4 cost, as well as just a 2k counter that I can use to protect myself. And it's probably one of the better ones too, because unlike the Marco blocker, this one at least is a 6k blocker. The Marco one requires me to discard, it can block, but in order to really make use of it, I have to be 1 or less life, and I don't feel like I have the luxury of, especially since Marco's a 4 life leader, you don't have the luxury to try to have your opponent whittle your life down unless it's absolutely necessary, or you're just unable to block, that attack or counter out. So lastly, for my 4 costs, I play 2 copies of the Charlotte Pudding. So she's in here because if I'm playing very aggressive, my opponent's gonna potentially have a big hand. This allows me to whittle that hand down, because I've encountered games where my opponent will have 8 to 10 cards, and if they don't like carefully like predict the Charlotte pudding, I just play the pudding just to punish their hand. And this is also good to punish searching, because I could just reset their hand potentially and deny them whatever pieces they needed for the next turn or the following turns. So she's just there for hand disruption. And then for the 5 costs, we play 4 copies of the 5 cost ace from the starter deck. So this is here because it's a 6k rush if I have a Whitebeard Pirates leader, which I do. Marco is a Whitebeard Pirates leader, and it also has the ability, if for once per turn, if this card would be removed from the board, whether it be bounced, bottom decked, trashed, or KO'd, I can minus 2k and keep it alive. So this forces them to burn removal and then swing into this, or if not, I'm just going to continue swinging for 6, and I can just play it if I'm going for lethal, just from straight from hand, and swing in on the same turn because it's a rush. So we play 4 copies of that. Now moving on, I play 6 costs. So I play the 6 cost Jozu. So this is here for me to kind of break my opponent's board. So it allows me to bounce my opponent's character with a cost 6 or less. So what I do is usually, but I also have to bounce a card on my side of the field in order to do that. So in most cases, I'm bouncing either the Kaya, the Izo, or in rare cases, if I had to field a 2k other 2k counters, I'll just bounce it back to my hand and then bounce a card that my opponent has that is a threat. So in most cases, it's either another blocker, or for Blackbeard, for example, is the Jesus Burgess. So being able to just get rid of it for the sake of like denying them a beat stick is also helpful. But you can only bounce the Burgess if your opponent doesn't activate Marshall's effect. So if they don't activate the skill drain effect, you're able to bounce. So, and it's also 7k beat stick, which is really nice. Now for the 7 drops, I'm only playing 4, which is the 4 copies of the Newgate. This is essentially Jack. For those who don't know what Jack is, it's basically tap self pop a character. For this one, the requirement to pop is 5k or less. So this allows me, and then on play, I can attach Arrested Dawn to my leader or any character I like. So most of the time, you're just going to attach it to the Marco, because you're going to play this on your 7 Dawn turn and then just get a free minus 2k and then a pop. So this is just your main board, one of your main board breakers of the deck, besides the Jozu. So this helps you break very like fat boards if you can whittle it down past 5k, and once you kind of like, it's basically good against purple Luffy, green decks. You want to be able to just KO their beat stick so they don't have, so they're unable to swing wide on you. And then now for the 8 costs, we play one of the most expensive red 8 costs of the deck, 4 copies of the Silver's Rayleigh. So if you remember from my previous video, Rayleigh is basically you get to minus 3k to one character, minus 2k to another, KO a character that has 3k power or less. This is just here for board breaking, and it's a good beat stick as well. One of our main end game like pieces, which is an 8 cost, is the 8 cost Monkey D Dragon. So what he does is when he comes into play, you get to choose up to I think 2 of your Rested Dawn and give it to either a character or your leader. So this allows you to freely pump a Marco into 7k, and it's a rush. It's a 9k rush. So this allows you to basically build fat lanes to swing in multiple times, or even just attach it onto Dragon to close the game out. Because you get to, especially if you're at 10 Dawn, attach 4 Dawn and swing for 13, which is really nice. And it's one of the main like targets for this character. The 9-drop Sanji, which I play as a 3 of. You mainly play it to either call the dragon, the Rayleigh, or the Newgate. And this allows you to kind of build up a board to swing wide. That's why you play the 9-cost Sanji. And it pairs well with the dragon because the minute you call the dragon from the top of your deck, you get to attach 2 Dawn and then swing. You get to swing. You get to just swing for days on the same turn. And this is a 9-cost that just basically allows you reveal the top card of your deck if it's and play the character if it's a 9-cost or less. So you're ideally just gonna hit your 8 costs or your 7 costs with the Sanji and just proceed to like go for a game. Pardon me. Boo! And then lastly, my last 2 cards, Gum Red Rock, your generic bottom deck removal. So I hope you guys like this One Piece list. I will be going over a couple more decks that I've been lucky to have built, which is Purple Luffy, Blackbeard, and my last one, Yamato. I did make a lot of changes to the Yamato list. I'm still working on that list, but I do have one waiting in the chamber for you guys, so I hope you guys stay tuned. I am going to be showcasing that list very shortly, but the next like One Piece deck that I am going to be exploring, or at least sharing with you guys, is going to be my Purple Luffy deck, because that is also going to be a meta contender, as well as my Blackbeard deck. So I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe. Balls, crack that like button again if you haven't. And peace out and stay on point, YouTube.